You know, and I mean, that's why, really, we still got the architects and engineers for, you know, 9/11 Truth Group. We've got that still going, and they've taken in millions of dollars from somewhere. You can see that on their tax records if you want. They're publicly available. I'm not just making that up as a casting
No, that's we'll get to the Richard Gage thing shortly, and that's exactly it too. The money, where's the money going?
Yeah, you know, so I think we you know, when we've seen this Scholars for 9/11 Truth, Scholars for 9/11 Truth and Justice, Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth, you've got lawyers for 9/11 Truth, you've got scientists for 9/11 Truth, pilots for 9/11 Truth,
pediatricians, philanthropists for 9/11 Truth, paleontologists, we got them all, eh?
Well, there may well be those now. I really don't know which groups there are, but we just
join a group. Well, make sure you join a group. Yeah. Just join a group. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about what you do. Yeah. Just find a group.
Sign a petition. Join the group. You know, job done. And this is a huge problem because you know, as we've started to illustrate a little bit, these groups get infiltrated and they get controlled. And it does not take very much at all.
No.
If you can get somebody with the right patter, a bit of money, get some posters made, get some ad campaigns going. You know, you can get people to volunteer to do bits and pieces, to plug various gaps that you might need plugging. And then once they get involved and they start to feel important, then you pump up their egos a little bit. Then if you go up to them and say, look, this guy over here, you know what? He's a total liar, and here's the evidence. You know, they just say, no, sorry, I think he's all right, and this group's done good things, you know, and we're getting the truth out to people, and I'm just not interested in what you got to tell me. Sorry, you know, just see you later, sort of thing, you know.
I can't listen. I'm busy.
Yeah, I'm busy. You know, I'm busy on this conference call with Richard Gage, or you know, whatever. And you know, we've seen this now. How these groups sort of work. You know, they have conference calls. They elect committees. You know,
it's a business.
We don't have a group.
It's a set up just like a business.
It is set up like a business. Yeah, and you know, myself and Dr. Woody, we've never formed a group.
Nope.
You know, we've essentially got people like yourself who just think, right, well, I've seen this now. You know, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to, you know, give out some leaflets, or I'm going to make a banner. You know, I'm going to give out some DVDs just when I feel like it. You know, I mean, there's various people now that have done this, and literally all I've been doing really is making DVDs, making leaflets. You know, I've had a few donations through my website. You know, sort of tens of pounds at a time. You know, that's like $20, $30, $50. That's sort of those sorts of amounts. And I'll just get some leaflets printed, and people, you know, and say, "Do you want some leaflets? Yeah, I'll send them out free." You know, and that's basically. And I'll give public talks. You come talk to my group about 9/11. Yeah, no problem. You know, and that's literally all I've been doing in the last few years.
We do what we can when we can. That's what I would say. You know, it's not. But this ties into talk about Richard Gage. Richard Gage, for anybody that doesn't know, he's the the founder, I believe, too, right, of Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. He's an interesting character. To say just a little bit, but he actually did an AMA on Reddit. There's this social media website. It's kind of like a message board mixed with a Tumblr kind of site, so you could see pictures and that, and upvote, downvote, and an AMA is an Ask Me Anything. I'll get to my question later. That's kind of the big part, but since we're on the money topic, I'll just read this one here. So somebody basically said, somebody else wrote this, I'd love to see your answers. And basically in it, he said, this is in the quote, you run a nonprofit with a mission statement declaring to fund research and papers to show 9/11 was an inside job. So why is it that when we look at your tax records, we see all the money going is to paying yourself nearly $100,000 annually, plus accommodations, plus meals, and the rest is going to promoting your DVDs, while not a single cent goes towards researching any type of thing whatsoever? And then the person after that quote says, and thanks for doing this, with a question mark, because they clearly were kind of skeptical about Richard. Now, I didn't think he would reply. I think he would just let that one go, but he replied, and people, this is very eye-opening, so listen closely. He said, he addressed the guy, he said, thank you for your, in bracket, or rather somebody else's question. And then here's the good stuff. I earn a salary varying from year to year from $80,000 to $100,000 per before taxes. I founded AE 9/11 Truth, and it is my life work. AE 9/11 Truth has a clear mission, which is the majority of donations we receive go to support. That's very eye-opening, because I just immediately think I've done this on 0 funds, and I plan to do it on no funds unless you said it was something like giving Dr. Wood's book to someone, you know. And look what I've done. I could, like I told somebody in a private message, I ran circles around Richard Gage with my question. We'll get to it later, and I'm making nothing on it. How much could I do with $100,000? How much could Dr. Judy Wood do for $100,000 American? How much could you do? And I know you guys wouldn't take it anyways, but if you wanted to reflect on that a bit.
Yeah, well, that's a very sort of good point, really. When you start to look into the money side of things, and it is a very thorny area, as you kind of implied there, because I think they've obviously used it to do things like these billboards in Times Square. Mm-hmm. Which is clearly, to me at least, is a psychological operation in terms of they're getting people to, mm-hmm. for example, only think about building number 7. Mm-hmm. Because if you just think about what happened to building 7, again, they'll try and implant this controlled demolition. Yep. And that takes people away from the wider issues, for example, the weather data, which becomes important, and the energy issues, which we haven't really spoken about much. But so they've used that money to fund a distraction campaign, essentially. They are disagreeing with the official story of 9/11, but they are funding a distraction campaign.
And their excuse for doing stuff like getting celebrities to talk and stuff, well, first of all, you got to pay for film crews to go there. You got to pay for editing. It's an expensive game, They're putting a lot of money into this editing. So their argument is we're trying to appeal to everybody. That's why we're using people like Ed Asner and I think what's his name?
Yes.
Charlie Sheen is part of it, and a couple.
He has
couple
been
other
in the
people.
past.
Yeah. So I don't know if he is anymore. But anyways, I mean, I could see what they're saying, but at the same time, no, this is not one of those situations where we have to be like, all right, here's Ashton Kutcher and his take on it. We need the experts that know their stuff. We need somebody like Dr. Wood whose degrees just basically spell out that she was made for this job. I'm waiting to see somebody else who's more qualified to do this, and then I want to tell them, okay, now do it. Don't even look at Dr. Wood's book. Just take it from the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, this is, there's a number of peculiar things which we can sort of link up there, in that if you go and look at the Architects and Engineers website, with all this money they've got, they haven't really done an investigation. The evidence that they talk about is very, very limited from what we now know is available. They don't, for example, have a link to Dr. Judy Wood's book, Dread the Thought. In fact, they try to debunk what she said, literally debunk it. And we have messages from people within that organisation or that group, whatever you want to call it, saying that they are limiting their message to a discussion of explosives having destroyed the World Trade Center. Mm-hmm. So they're limiting their message to something which is provably incorrect mm-hmm. from very simple and basic observations. And that's, I can't remember if it's in my book, but it's definitely on my website. That email, I think, is from a chap called Mark Graham, which from a few years ago. So their mission is clearly to cover up what happened. And when you read their own correspondence and compare that, hopefully, to the evidence that you've looked for, mm-hmm. You can clearly see what their goal is. But going back to the money issue, which we didn't kind of finish, I think there is an element of danger, because if somebody was to come to me and say, Andrew, well, I've looked at your website and it's just like, to me, it's like the most important thing. And I'm actually a multimillionaire, so I'd like to give you £1 million, to put towards mm-hmm. doing something with this information. Well, okay, so what would I do? Let's just present myself with that question. Yeah. If somebody was to give me £1 million or $1 million, what would I do? Okay, well, maybe I'd get like Architects and Engineers have done. I'd try and get a short video made to be, paid for, and then put in as a commercial somehow and put onto a TV network. Well, mm-hmm. I think I would say from my experience that the moment that somebody got wind that was going to take place, it would be shut down. Mm-hmm. And either the person making the video or the person that offered the money, I could almost guarantee that as things are now, they would be targeted. I would be targeted. Yep. the thing that's the way that things are working at the moment is that if you're only reaching a small number of people as we are, it's just an absolute tiny pico drop in the ocean of people, and as you and I are talking, maybe let's say 500 people, 1,000 people, 2,000 people are maybe going to listen to this. I don't know over the next 6 months or something.
Hopefully, I can only hope.
Hopefully, yeah. Well, maybe I don't know what sort of numbers you're addressing with this, but I mean, we've seen, in fact, when Dr. Wood has had, for example, she was on Coast to Coast in 2010.
Yep.
And it was on the very same day that they killed bin Laden for a third time. They announced that bin Laden killing story. I think it was the 14th of April 2010? Yeah. I think it was something like that. It was April 2010. On the very same day that Dr. Judy Wood was featured on Coast to Coast.
I think it's going to be an annual thing, the killing of bin Laden, but I soon think it's going to take that big giant movie plot twist where bin Laden's going to help us to fight ISIS, right? So I think that's what's in the work next. He's going to come back from the dead and he's going to help us to fight ISIS.
Well, they'll probably have some medium talking to him.
Nonsense.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, so to summarise that, really, I think if there was a risk that this information would be suddenly exposed to a large audience, then the steps would be taken to neutralise that.
Yeah.
Now, but even let's say that I'm wrong about that. Even if there was a big commercial and, Where Did the Towers Go book, buy it now on Amazon, gets onto mainstream TV, good quality commercial, whatever.
Yep.
Even if that happened, people are going to think, well, what the hell's that about? We know what did 9/11, so I'm not going to buy it. Because they're so, that story is now so entrenched in their brains after 13 years of propaganda the majority of the population are already dealt with anyway.
They don't even want to go near it either. They don't want to be bothered. They're saying, why rip off the Band-Aid, why open an old wound, and it's like, no, you've never healed it to begin with. This is honestly one of the most important things, the second or first most important thing, and you're not even willing to give it a chance. And I tell everybody, every aspect of your day is affected by what happened then. Every single aspect. So...
That's right, absolutely. And when we were talking the other night, we exchanged a sort of similar stories, really, didn't we? Because I was telling you about my friend who I've known for 30 years. Yeah. I could not get to first base with him. He's a chemistry teacher. This guy's a chemistry teacher, for heaven's sake. I was at university with him. Could not even get to first base. He would not talk about the basic points, that
he sounded like
I've already discussed.
He sounded like a good go do your job 9 to 5 blue collar guy, type, and that's the majority of people, and that's the majority of people who just don't want to look in that direction. It's going to get ugly sometimes, everyone. Just to let you know, it gets really ugly. You're going to feel like shit reading some of this, but it's vital. It's an important part of life,
It is, and I mean, I've said before, and I'll say it again, that we're dealing with information, which basically wrecks friendships, breaks up families, and ends careers. It really is like that, unfortunately.
And you should all be careful to watch yourself, because I mean, I didn't have too much problem with this information because I was a bit skeptical of everything going into it, but I could picture somebody that's hardcore fanatic, like Official Story, or hardcore fanatic Thermite or whatever. You're going to have a rough time accepting the actual information and just looking at it. It's going to change you as a person, and try not to get depressed. Try not to get upset about it. I know me saying try not is not going to really have any effect. If you're going to get upset or depressed, you are, but know that if you're feeling that down about it, then you really should be doing something to help further this cause. You should be really doing something where you're in a driver's seat and you're doing what you can. Like me, I'm an audio engineer, so I'll do a podcast. If you own a printing shop, print some stuff. Just do anything. Don't sit there and feel depressed and sit by yourself and have the whole world go to shit around you while you're not doing anything. Do something, because it's that happened in 2001 and it's 2014 now, and
it is. Wow. That's right.
Wow.
It is beginning to fade into history, and just
scary.
Dwelling on that. It is, yeah. I mean, dwelling on that for just a minute, there was a definite kind of difference in the last couple of years. I think in 2011 I was asked to do 3 or 4 talks around the anniversary of 9/11, you know, here in the UK. But 2012, 2013,
No.
Or 2013, 2014. That was 2012, sorry. So 2014, I wasn't asked to do any talks, you know.
Well,
and I mean, so the awareness is kind of sort of fading in some ways, you know.